The October 10th City Council meeting for the City of Macedonia. It is 7:30 p.m. Mrs. Arcisi, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Barker.
Here.
Ms. Brandt. Here. Ms. Tully. Here. And Mr. Ventura.
Here.
I ask Tom O'Brien of the American Legion Chaplain to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
With bowed heads, let us pray. Almighty God, in troubled times, we ask that you be ever mindful of the men and women whose work is to serve and protect the citizens and property of our community. These dedicated police officers are the backbone of law and order, and they serve our community in so many different ways, from patrolling our streets and neighborhoods to complex investigations of heinous crimes. Our officers work tirelessly in pursuit of keeping our community safe for one and all. Almighty God, we further ask that you help guide our lawmakers who govern our community, allowing them to make decisions that will benefit the majority of our citizens, while also giving consideration to the minority so that a consensus can be reached. And Almighty God, we further ask that you watch over those citizens who are mentally impaired or physically ill and bring them thy blessing of health and happiness. And now with hand over heart, please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you as always, Mr. O'Brien. Okay, first thing on our agenda is the regular meeting minutes of September 26, 2019. Do I have a motion to accept?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted by the Clerk Council for the regular meeting on September 26th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next up is acknowledging the receipt of the financial report dated September 30th, 2019.
I'd like to make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the financial report dated September 30th, 2019, as given to us by the Finance Director.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next on our agenda is public comments. We have no one signed in, so we'll move into pending or new legislation. First up is Ordinance 75, 2019.
Your Honor, I submit ordinance number 75, 2019 for its third and final reading, by title only.
Second.
An emergency ordinance authorizing an amendment to the Northfield Center Township, Macedonia Joint Economic Development District Agreement regarding the addition of 21.5373 acres of land to be placed in the territory of the JED.
We had a public hearing tonight for this. We discussed what this entailed. Director Guidetti, would you please give the same synopsis you gave before?
Sure. So the proposed addition of land is going to be a process shared by both Macedonia and Northfield Center Township. It stems from a consent decree entered into as a result of litigation between the township and Spitzer, who's the property owner. As part of that consent decree, the township petitioned for the land to be added to the JED. So this is Macedonia's half of the process, a resolution approving the addition of land to the Joint Economic Development District. The township will also pass a similar resolution, then the JED board will meet to approve the addendum.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
I move to adopt ordinance number 75, 2019, and post the same according to law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 75 passes. Moving on to Ordinance 85.
I'd like to offer ordinance number 85, 2019 for its second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance amending Chapter 137 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Macedonia, creating the position of Service Department Supervisor within the Department of Public Service.
Ordinance 86.
I move to offer ordinance number 86 for its second reading by title only.
An emergency ordinance amending ordinance number 69, 2019 relative to the compensation schedule for the non-union city employees of Macedonia.
Moving on to Ordinance, I lost my place here.
89.
89.
I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121.22, Section G, Paragraph 2, to discuss the purchase of property for public purposes.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Ms. Brandt?
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
So we're going to go into an executive session to discuss ordinance 89, 2019. We will come back out and conclude the meeting thereafter. So please be patient with us while we do this.
It just shouldn't be that long.
Ordinance 89, 2019.
I'd like to offer up ordinance number 89, 2019 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor to acquire a real property interest in the former Bedford anodizing property located at 7860 Empire Parkway as part of the Resource Conservation and Recovering Act, RCRA, closure plans process.
Director Goodetti, can you give a synopsis of this, please?
Sure. This was a parcel of property that an anodizing facility was previously located on. There were some environmental issues with the property, so the property's been in an environmental remediation type analysis and process for a number of years now. It's to a point where it's on the forfeited land list, and we're working with a number of agencies, frankly, to get the property to a point that it is today where the city can be in a position to acquire it. So,
Thank you. Any further discussion? What is your pleasure?
I'd like to make an amendment to this ordinance to include the language that nominal fee should not exceed $1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass and post. Oh, sorry.
I move to pass and post ordinance number 89, 2019 as amended and the same according to law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 89, 2019 passes. Ordinance 90.
I'd like to waive the 48-hour rule and add ordinance 90, 2019 to the agenda for this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I offer ordinance number 90, 2019 for its first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance amending ordinance 114, 2018 relative to current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Macedonia for the period of January 1, 2019 to December 31st, 2019.
Ordinance 91.
I move to, I got it here, waive the 48-hour rule of council to put this on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And you're also including adding it to it.
And adding it to the agenda.
And who was the second on that?
Me?
Thank you.
Offer it now.
Yes, sir.
An ordinance establishing a technology advancement fund.
Did we offer it?
No, we did not. I move to offer ordinance number 91, 2019 for its first, second, and third reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, she already read it. So basically what this is in the community, we have a lot of technology needs, and over the years, we've done things to be cost effective, and we've patched a lot of things together, and we're experiencing a great deal of problems with our technology. And as we all know, that technology is of vital importance now for us to communicate and function on a day-to-day operation. A lot of that has to do with software and infrastructure of the things that we have that currently fail often. One example would be this week our phone system went down for the upteenth time, and we were without phones for almost an entire day. Now, mind you, 911, we have a secondary system that keeps 911 functioning in our emergency services, but there was no way to call into City Hall, and that's a major problem for us. And what we're discovering is a lot of the things that we have are antiquated and need to be replaced, and that's kind of what this is starting to establish, a fund to start correcting the technology problems that we have. So moving forward, we've engaged a company to tell us kind of what we need. We have a map of where we need to go into the future. And this is gonna start that fund, so we can start pulling from that fund to correct the technological needs that we have.
Your Honor, I move to adopt ordinance number 91, 2019, and post the same according to law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 91 passes. Are there any other motions or legislative actions? Hearing none, is there any correspondence from the clerk?
I have none, sir.
We'll move into the mayor's report. We have had a lot of calls and things about the blue envelope. We all know we get this envelope generally since 1964. It's last time the Browns won the Super Bowl, or it wasn't even called then, but the blue envelope was the $20.80 fee we paid since 1964. The time that our finance department spent to stuff these envelopes, send them out to people, have them write a check, stick it into the envelope, buy a stamp, stick it back on there, send it back to us, and deal with all the problems of people moving, this is a good example of one right here. It was inordinate. So we, through our finance director, thought, why don't we put that on the tax duplicate, because it's not increasing your fee, you're already paying it, and we just put it on the tax duplicate. With that came a legal notice that we are required to send to everybody, and exactly what that legal notice is what you were sent at your home. There's a lot of folks thinking it's a new fee. It's not. This is something, again, we've paid since 1964. It's the Water Maintenance and Expansion Fund that we have established quite some time ago. In hindsight, we should have stuffed another letter in there, and I will own the responsibility for that, because we did put out something to the residents explaining exactly what this letter was. The one you got in there was the legal notice that we are required by law to send. What that means, and I'm going to read it here now, and I'm not a big fan of reading things to folks, but I'm going to read this to you so this kind of puts it in perspective for anyone that may not understand, and we'll still field calls. If you have questions, you can call our finance department, and we'll explain it even more in depth. It says, as the owner of a real property located in the city of Macedonia, you previously received a special assessment notice in the mail. This correspondence serves an additional reminder of new changes that assessment as detailed below. Every year since the 60s, every property owner in Macedonia has been charged a fee for the Water Maintenance and Expansion Fund. The bill is typically $20.80 per property per year, billed annually by the finance department to your address. The city worked with the county to instead add this charge to your property tax bill as a special assessment, thereby eliminating the need to generate and separately bill nearly 5,000 invoices annually through the finance department. As a result, you will no longer receive a paper invoice for this charge and have to mail a check back in a stamped envelope. If you have any questions, you may contact the finance department at 330-468-8350. In being a custodian of your tax dollars, I can tell you that this saves our finance department a ton of time, because you can imagine the folks that work in there, the time they spend stuffing 5,000 envelopes and all the problems that come with it, with folks that have moved or rejected and the phone calls that come along with that. You're paying the same amount of money. We're not asking for any more. The way you pay it will be a little bit different. And that's the simple response that I can give to anyone of what that is. So we apologize. I know now that if we have a legal notice that we're gonna also put it more in a sense that's understandable, and we will do that going forward, any other legal notices that we have to send out. So I do apologize to anyone that has confusion regarding that, but it's going on your tax assessment. It's no more than you paid before, and I'm sorry for that. Secondly, there's been a lot of talk about Highland Road. President Tolley actually had a resident from Northfield Center contact her this week about the problems with the congestion on the road, the poor traffic flow that flows through there. It's something that we've been working on. I haven't communicated a whole lot, but ironically, before that had even occurred with the complaint that she had received, Mr. Gelati and I have been working on this pretty much since day one when I assumed office. We got two folks, well actually more than two. We got AMATs, we got ODOT, we have all kinds of hands to try and figure out what we can do to resolve that problem. And we're in the beginning stages of it. I can tell you that we're probably a year to two away from any resolution, and even then, the funding of that's gonna be outrageous. Just the turning lanes alone on Valley View Road and Highland Road are $2 million. That's quite a high amount of money that it's hard for us to substantiate at this point, because considering the road needs that we have, and we're trying to take care of the interior roads that still have many issues. We do recognize that there's problems on Highland Road. We do recognize that the traffic has increased significantly on Highland Road, but we're working on it. We're trying to engage the folks that have the funding to get to something more now. There's a safety issue there, we recognize that too. We don't know yet how severe that safety issue is, but that's something that they're gonna work through their studies to tell us how bad it is. And with that, will move us up in the funding mechanisms to get those funding mechanisms. Is there anything else you wanna add to that?
No, I think that pretty well sums it up. Really, I guess the bottom line is, it's all about eventually securing the funding to make the improvements that we need to make. That's really the bottom line.
And with what they're doing, we are more likely to get those funding sources to correct the problem. Again, we recognize that we're getting a lot more traffic from, Twinsburg Township and Twinsburg that flow through there to get to our highways. We also have industries on Highland Road that are flowing through there. And I mean, really, it's more so on the heavy traffic times, like when the school's going in or rush hour, which there's not a whole lot we're ever gonna be able to do on rush hour. It's always gonna be busy on Highland Road, but we're working towards a solution. And I'm telling you right now, and I'm being forthright with it, we're probably at least a year out to even hear anything.
When they do their study, will they do it at different times of the day?
They actually just did that yesterday.
And today?
And our police chief was out there with them, and they were actually taken aback by what they saw, because the data shows something, but actually seeing it, and we all know that if you're traveling Route 8 south and you turn left on the Highland Road, you got the Indy 500 to figure out which lane has the priority and who's got the right of way, and we're working on it. We have like little things that we were talking about today to try and resolve that in the interim, maybe putting some stripes on the road to arrow people over. The way it's set up now, the right-hand lane is actually the through lane, but the left-hand lane is the one that kind of connects straight through, so it's very confusing. There's one sign over there, and I made the point to the ODOT folks, there's a sign that says that over there saying right-hand lane is a through lane, but if there's a truck there, how do you know that? And 9 times out of 10, we have a lot of truck traffic that flows through there, you're not gonna see that sign. So it's something that we're conscious of, we're working on it, and I would ask you to continue to be patient with that, but we're gonna try and get these funding mechanisms, and I thank Mr. Gelati for all the work he's done on it, because it's taking up a lot of our time, and it's for good reason. We recognize the issue, and we're gonna work on it, so thank you for that.
Well, and I appreciate Chief Golden, your reply today at Highland and Valley View. We almost got hit yesterday, and it was like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's why I ask if they do it at various times. Plus, that's also the intersection where we do have the problem with people not stopping for the school bus, because there really is only one lane. So that's why at Highland and Valley View, if they would be sure that they do just about every time in the day, not just the rush hour, because it's maniac even. I was over there at noon today, and it was wild, just wild.
Yeah, for example, they were there at 2 to 4, 4 to 6. They came back 7:30 till 9 at night. I suggested, they were only supposed to be there 7:30 till 8:30 this morning. I suggested they come out sooner to catch the school traffic, which they did, and they thanked me for, so they could see that. And then they came in here at 9 o'clock till 11. They debriefed in here. I know Joe was in there. The mayor stopped in for a little bit. So they were there at various times, seeing various things. They thought we underestimated the problem, I think is what they indicated to me. To say they were impressed with our traffic would be an understatement. So, yeah, they did see it at various times.
Well, and especially if that property ever develops at that corner. Can you imagine what'll happen next? Because we have little properties and we have the houses right there. But if that big property ever develops, it's just gonna be outrageous. It already is outrageous.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks for your reply to the gentleman.
I have a quick question for Mr. Gaddetti. If any of those residences in that area are sold, do they have a certain amount of time that they have to be occupied before they now become commercial or industrial?
So I think your question is pertaining to prior legal non-conforming use. And if you fail to maintain a prior use for a period of more than 6 months, you lose that ability, if that answers your question.
It does.
So that's it for Highland Road. Next up is, I'm going to kind of go over where we're at with our road program and our PCR, which is called the pavement condition rating. It's essentially what judges, well, let me get into the thing here. So this was prepared on October 10th, 2019. I'm going to kind of read through it. If you want to follow along on the TV, you can.
Would you like me to dim some of the lights or at all?
I think they're, anyone need lights dimmed? Okay. God bless you.
Thank you.
So the pavement condition rating system was developed for the Ohio Department of Transportation. The rating is assigned based on visual inspection of pavement distress. It provides a procedure for uniformly identifying and describing in terms of severity and extent of pavement distress. Pavement condition rating provides an index reflecting the composite effects of varying distress type, severity, and extent upon the overall condition of the pavement. God bless you. So we have like a little bit of a color-coded system here to kind of show, you know, the blue is the very good all the way down to the red being the worst. It's a range from 0 to 100. PCR of 100 represents a perfect pavement with no observable distress. PCR of 0 represents pavement with all distress present at high levels of severity and extensive levels of that extent. So for the city of Macedonia, the average PCR for public roads. In May of 2015, our rating was 73.2. In October of 2019, this month, we are at 86.9, which is something that I'm very proud of, and I think we should all hang our hats on because we were in a bad place in terms of roads, and thankfully, with the road levy passage, we've been able to address a lot of those. That's an increase of 13.7%, so that's pretty significant. The state routes and the interstate highways are obviously excluded. So the next slide, the pavement conditions by percentage. If you look at the May 2015 versus 19, we'll start with the red. We had 6% in 15 that were very poor, meaning they were the worst roads and in terrible disrepair. 10% were in poor. Fair to poor was another 10%. Fair was 20%. Good was 39%, and very good was 15%. Fast forward to today, very good is at 44%. That's a heck of an increase. Good is at 39%. Fair is at 16%. We have 1% that is in the fair to poor range. And I think that contains one road, is it not? And that's something I'll get to here in a little bit. So on to the next slide. So they kind of put this into the map of Macedonia, and you can see, it's kind of tough to see where you're sitting, but if you look closely at this, where we were and where we are today. The blues and the greens are obviously kind of where we want to be. If you look in the 2015 map, we didn't have a whole lot of that. There was a lot of red and orange and yellow that we needed to address, and thankfully here we are in October 2019 where that map kind of shows that. And we will put this on our website hopefully tomorrow for people to view. So I know it's tough to see here tonight, but it kind of gives a good synopsis of where we were and where we are today. On to the meat and potatoes. We spent $11.3 million to correct our roads. In 2015, we pulled it from the general fund to the extent of $1.17 million. In 17, 1.64, 18, 1.08, and 5.11. And in 19, we spent $2.3 million. The total mileage of construction is 21.7 miles. And just to put it into context, we have 66 total miles that would need to be paved. So we've paved a third of our roads. That's pretty impressive in a what, 4-year period. That's pretty good stuff. We have paved 52 roads in 3 years, and we also paved 7 in 2015. So overall, 59 roads in the past 5 years is something the size of our city is just unheard of. That's something you see in a Columbus or an Akron or Cleveland. So that's something, again, we want to hang our hats on. This doesn't take into account also the rejuvenator and the crack seal that we've done and the road striping. That's something that we never did before. Rejuvenator essentially is something you put onto the pavement because there's an emulsion in asphalt that tends to dry out, and that's when your road starts to break apart. Through the wisdom of our engineering department, they said we can extend the life of these roads exponentially by putting this material back down onto these roads so we don't have to replace them in their entirety. So that's something, again, I thank you for bringing into the community, and I know that that's something that's worked because I've had a lot of experience with it myself. And that's kind of the end of the report. If there's any questions about where we are in terms of roads going forward, we do have a 2019 road report PCR rating, and then we also have the 15 if they want to compare. We'll also try and get that out too as soon as possible.
was gonna say, why don't you, first of all, thank you, since I requested this to be done. The state of the roads, people ask, where did the dollars go? You know, I'm paying the tax dollars. We didn't pay cash for all of them. So when you see that, all those millions, we didn't pay cash for all of that, but we are trying to be very conscious of the fact that we don't borrow more than the income that's coming in. But if you want to just mention the first 5 roads that are next, I think,
So that's actually, you just.
because you know that's going to be the next question you get is
So
my road.
we've had some things of late I've seen some folks talking about, and I want to point something out, is we're trying to work to the worst roads first. Now, a good example of why we didn't do that is over in the Broadmoor and Ledgeview area. Cleveland Water's going to come due and do a water line replacement on Ledgeview. We tried to secure funding for them to do Broadmoor as well. If you think your road's bad, drive down Broadmoor. And I would encourage everyone that sits up here to go drive down Broadmoor, and you'll understand what a bad road looks like, because they are rated pretty low, and it's something that we waited for so that we could potentially have the water line replacement. Unfortunately, we didn't get the funding to replace that water line. We're gonna pave that road anyway. At some point, that may fail. We can't wait for them to tell us we're gonna replace the water line. So we try to group the roads together that are next to each other. In terms of a contractor coming out and paving, it reduces your cost. So we try to group those so that they're all in the same general area when we do the paving. It's not always feasible, but we try to do that with all of our paving. So if you want to know the top 5 roads that are on our list currently, guess what? Broadmoor is number 1, Highlands number 2, Chinaberry Circle North's 3, Navajo Trail's 4, and North Melody Lane's number 5. We will continue to work through the list. We're going to do the best we can. Again, what I say, 59 roads in 5 years, that's pretty impressive. We've done a lot in a short period of time, and it's nice to drive down a road and not have to have a 4x4 Jeep in order to make it down the road you live on. So I'm very proud of that, and I thank our engineering department again.
Thank you to the residents. You
Well,
approved it.
Jan's 100% right, that's just it. Nobody liked to see any of these levies put on there, but the residents said, yes, let's do this, and almost immediately, this was before I was on council, almost immediately you could see results. So it's been working well.
And as always, please put the cell phones down, drive the car, do not drive distracted. It's very dangerous. Moving on to committee reports.
Parks and Recs Committee will be meeting on the 16th at 6:30. Or 6 o'clock, I'm sorry.
Dan, did you want to talk about the fence? Just real quick?
The fence?
Yeah, at the cemetery.
It was interesting. It was not as I expected. When I took it down, I thought it was, when they put it in, I guess 80-some years ago, each section of the fence was embedded in a rock. So they drill a hole in the rock and they would put the picket into the rock, the long one, and I thought it was mortared in. It was not. They actually poured hot lead in each one of the holes. So I said, okay, I can't heat it up and don't want to get into trouble there, so I had to just cut off the steel on each one of them. I never realized how much it was. It worked out to about 500 linear feet of fence when I got done. All sections were kept. I returned 8 pieces and 2 gates for the use of the cemetery. The remaining pieces are stored in the maintenance yard on 9,000. I've taken 8 sections of that to get refurbished, and we're going to put that in the park. Veterans Memorial Park is getting, that fence is getting done right now, and then when I get it back, we'll do a little more touch-up on it and reinstall it.
Thank you. I wanted him to give the update because he was the man that took care of the old fence and made sure that it was done and that the pieces could be taken out to be reused, not just demolished.
Yeah.
And I thank you for that.
No problem. It just took me a little longer than we expected.
The Finance Committee will meet again on November 12th at 6:30 p.m. in Council Caucus, if you'd like to join us. November 12th, it's Tuesday.
Okay, moving on to department reports. Mr. Gelati.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. We've already talked about roads, so I won't touch on that anymore. Really just one announcement for the council and for the audience. ODOT is planning a weekend road closure of North Bedford Road at the north end of town at our border with Oakwood Village, as they'll be demolishing the old I-480 bridge that crosses over North Bedford Road at that location. Tentatively, they've planned this road closure for next weekend. That would be the weekend of October 18th, but they haven't finalized that date. As soon as ODOT does finalize that date, obviously, we will let everyone know, social media, website, et cetera, et cetera. ODOT will sign a detour to send everyone to Route 8 for that weekend and that weekend only.
Wait, is it only for the weekend?
Only on the weekend.
And it's only for the, is it every weekend?
No, one time.
So when they demolish it, is the new one already up?
Yes.
That would
Yes.
be the question of,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the new bridge is there, so it's only closure for the demolition.
correct.
And traffic on 480 will not be impeded. I mean,
As
it's
far as I
always-
know,
it's
480
always a
remains
mess
open,
anyhow,
yes.
but-
Mhm.
No more than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more than usual. Yeah, if you go over there, you'll see there's, the old bridge is in the middle and there's a new bridge on either side of it. So the old one obviously is coming down.
Do you want pieces of that, Dan, for Memorial Park?
Director Manley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one announcement, just a reminder, actually, that we have our community haunted hayride scheduled in Longwood Park this coming Saturday night, October 12th, through, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So parking will be available at the rec center parking lot and the first gravel lot before you get to the baseball fields. And we will have 2 wagons running. Girl Scouts will be accepting donations for concessions. And it is a family-friendly event, so you can bring your children. We will not scar them for life. And we hope to see everyone there. We hope the weather holds out, and we hope everyone comes out Saturday night.
But just to be clear, it will be a little scary, correct?
There will be a few surprises, and it will be a little scary, but it will not be gory.
So if your child is squeamish and can't handle a little scare, I would recommend that it may not be best for you, but I think we toned it down to where it's going to be acceptable for most kids to be able to handle that, correct?
Yes.
Is there a fee? Is there a ticket fee?
We're accepting donations to offset the cost of providing this to the community, and then we also have sponsors who have contributed to the expenditures for this event as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Veras.
Thank you, Mayor. My report has to do with the blue envelope. So what I'm going to do is include it in the messenger for the next 3 to 4 months, the same report. So hopefully the message will get across. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Ripley.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank council. 6 o'clock tonight, council came out. We kind of ran them through a brief exposure to our new safety trailer. I think they were impressed, but you can ask them. It's going to be very beneficial. Yesterday morning at 3:30, we did have a house fire in Northfield Center. Everybody made it out safely. No firefighters were injured, so it was a successful fire in that regard. Just want to remind people, you hear about it again, but on October 27th is our annual Halloween party at the fire station here at Station 1. And fire truck rides, candy, costume judging, cookies. But Chief Golden's requested the first ride in the fire truck, so, but we hope to see you there on the 27th. That's it, Mayor.
Chief, can you touch on how that was funded again and how we get that mechanism to pay for the fire safety trailer?
When we started billing for EMS, we would take, through ordinance, the city puts 10% of the net billing from EMS in an account called FAIR, which is Fire Awareness, Instruction, and Respect. And we use those funds for fire safety, education in the public, and those funds have been building. We had a trailer we had purchased prior to that 22 years ago, I believe it was. We had donations through the community and city funds. That pretty much got worn out, and with technology, this thing out there, it's amazing, and it's going to affect children and make them safer. And the other communities are now paying into it. We had the funds, but they will help us with their EMS billing to maintain it. We're going to pay for a extended warranty on it and things like that, because there's a lot of computers in it, and it should serve us for many years to come.
And just to point out, at the Spirit of Macedonia Festival, that trailer, the previous one, was generally one of the most popular things for the kids, at least my own, because I think my son went through that thing at least a half a dozen times. So it's a hit with the kids, and there's also learning that comes along with it. So nice thing to have.
Yes.
In light of that also, it's not just for children. Believe me when I tell you, it's not just for children.
Well, the bed is.
Excuse me?
The bed is.
Well, I could never fit in that. But anyway, in going through that, if you didn't already know how to handle certain things, you learned. If you already knew how to handle them, it was a nice reminder. It was a nice build-up to remembering what you've learned in the past. It was definitely an eye-opener, and just to instill in you what you may have already learned. If not, you learned it tonight.
Thank you. Chief Goldman.
I'd like to thank Josephine for the riveting story while council was in executive session. That was very informative. Thank you, Josephine.
Was it recorded?
It might have been.
Probably somebody did record. Afterwards,
Okay.
I thought they probably had their
Okay.
cameras going.
We'll put it on the big screen.
My report, our watch guard in-car cameras are in, and they will be installed within the next couple weeks-ish, hopefully. The current ones we have are very old, most do not work, cameras and/or audio, so that's going to be a wonderful upgrade. Our next Gen 911 is en route from Temecula as of today. It shipped, so when we get that, don't know, but that should be by the end of the year, I'm hoping. And new MDTs, mobile data terminals, are in, and we're waiting for a few pieces for the mounts to mount them in the car to replace the very old ones that are there now. So lots of upgrades coming, just a few more weeks, hopefully.
And it kind of plays into the technology piece I was talking about. I believe your MDTs operated on Windows 7.
If we're lucky if they were Windows 7.
So to give you an
It's
idea,
not that.
well, when they're used as much as they are, they
Yeah.
tend to deteriorate quickly.
Yeah,
And
they're,
you know, they don't like to keep Windows 7 alive.
Yep.
well, with the shaking and vibrating in the cars, and as of January 1st, all the computers on the police system that utilize the Leeds network has to be Windows 10 or better, so we're just catching up.
Thank you. Director Goodetti,
I have no report, sir.
any unfinished business?
Any update on Guadalupe?
We are still waiting for Bishop Perez to make a decision.
Which means nothing will happen this year.
Well,
Nothing.
I won't make a statement on that, but
Technically, it's in God's hands.
Yeah. No, it's in a human's hands. That's the problem. See, yeah, it's a human's hand. The only reason being is the neighbor would like to know if we're ever gonna come out and clean what was taken down. And I know until we have the land, we said we would not do that. So I'll just let them know, we don't hear anything, and before you know it, hopefully we won't be like Denver and all those other places and have snow, but I'll let them know highly unlikely will occur this year.
And I've spent quite a bit of time on that with Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I'm trying to encourage them as much as I can, and unfortunately, it's out of our hands, so it's on our minds. Any other unfinished business? Any new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
You
You like that?
Except the poor little, I can't see. That one drawing.
Which one?